Yo guys, welcome back to another video. I'm here with Fernando, who got top 4 at the Core TCG Regional at Las Vegas this past weekend. Hi Fernando, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here.
Nice, yeah. Big thank you. Thanks for coming on and doing this video. I think a lot of Bonney players were watching you this weekend and got really inspired, and we're happy to see you doing so well. And to all the other Bonney players who topped and did well this weekend, was really awesome to see. So just wanted to do like a quick video kind of talking about your deck list, going into some of the more like tech choices and reasons behind certain cards, and then like a quick run through your run of the day, and maybe finishing with just a few questions that I had for you.
Sounds good.
All right, so to start off, let's jump into the deck list. So I don't want to do like, just like, we don't have to go over every single card here, but and I'll have the list up on the screen for everyone watching at home. But I would say, so we have the 4 Bonney searchers, right? And I know, can you explain, are you not as big of a fan of the Kid and Killer searcher, or did you just feel like Bonney is just too good? And what was your reasoning behind just running the Bonney search?
I think of the 2 searchers, the 1-cost Bonney searcher is the better of the 2. Allowing it to be a pseudo blocker, forcing your opponent to attack into it, or risk letting Bonney players get more resources is not it's a tough choice for them.
Yeah.
So they have to attack into it, slows the game down, which is what Bonney wants to do. That being said, I do like the Kid and Killer searcher. It being able to activate a Dawn active off a crucial curve that might come into play. I just didn't want. I felt like I didn't want to over rely on it, because I know in this current meta there's various ways to interact with small bodies on the field, and if they find a way to get rid of Kid Killer before you can activate a Dawn, you might get hard punished. So I just didn't want to deal with it at all, or put it in the deck at all, for this tournament at least. Maybe with more playtesting, I can see, I do see value in this card. The question always is like, if this card goes in, what goes out? And I just, aside from that, I just wouldn't know what to take out from here.
Yeah, I totally agree. My thing too is, especially if I'm running Zoro, I'm running 4 Bonney. Like, there's no question about it. Like, a card that slows down our opponent and like helps keep our life healthier, that's to me just infinitely more value than something like Kid and Killer, especially if we're running something like Zoro, where it's a card where if we get Zoro down and we're at 1 or 0 life, like, we're probably gonna lose, like, so in that point we're already just not playing Zoro. So yeah, I really agree. I do think overall just Bonney is still the better Supernova searcher, but there are some really cool like niche situations where Kid and Killer is going to be really strong, like especially in the mirror, and just times when like not having to worry about like leaving 4 Dawn up, or 2 or 3 Dawn up plus 2 blockers to play around Hody, and like just having the 1 Kid and Killer is kind of refreshing and like nice to see. It adds like another element of things to watch out for, like in the mirror or in certain green matchups, so that's really cool. But yeah, I kind of have the same sentiment. I've been trying out Kid and Killer a lot in different builds, especially ones that run more like Law and Beppo. I've been testing like 10 cost Flamingo builds and stuff too. But for a build that runs more of the 9 cost, like Shanks and Zoro, I totally agree that Bonney is a very good choice. And then yes, the problem is like, what do we cut to add it in? Because that's such a huge problem, like a hard thing to figure out. But yeah, nice. That's awesome. And we have them, like, we have our 4 Cavendishes, right? I'll go over some of the cards that are kind of just like the staples. 4 Cavendish, 4 Carrot. I think right now 4 Carrot is still really important, right? What would you say? Like, have you ever thought of even taking Carrot down to like 3 or something?
You could definitely make the argument, if you're trying to make space for other cards, say Kid and Killer. Maybe you could try removing 1 Carrot.
Yeah.
That being said, I did like seeing Carrot throughout the tournament this weekend. Compared to the other 5 costs in Cavendish, definitely I would rather have Cavendish at 4 over Carrot. There is a lot of aggressive decks out there, even in some not so aggressive matchups where you can't over rely on play abilities, but just when attacking, like say for against Teach or even Lucci, stunning those some of those bodies can really help you out in a pinch. That just compared to just a Cavendish giving you more Dawn doesn't compare. Sometimes you just need a stun.
Yeah, especially like Teach and Lucci. That's a very good point. I think Carrot is actually low-key kind of really good into a lot of black matchups, and then obviously just all of the aggro matchups, and especially green-purple Luffy. Yeah, that's nice. But I mean, yeah, 4 Cavendish, 4 Carrot, 3 Arouge, or sorry, the 4 Rouge. You just have the split there, yeah. 4 Rouge.
4 Rouge.
Arouge is so strong in this meta right now too. I think I've tried him at 3 and 4. I like him at either ratio. Did you find just like having the 4 just really solidified it for you? Maybe for like going second and stuff, just to make sure you have that play.
For this weekend, it definitely solidified having 4. I did run 3 copies and 1 rarity, and like a 4th in a separate rarity, just to double check. Does the 4th come up? And in a lot of these games, the 4th one did come up. I'm glad I saw the 4th one. I'm glad I kept it in my 50. It paid off.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's a really cool way to test too, especially when you're at a big regional. You got a long day. You're playing like 8-9+ games, and you can just see like, okay, I saw the different rarity one like X amount of times. And I needed to see it then. Like that means I'm playing the right ratio. I think that's a really cool like little trick and little tip that people can do if you want to test while you're at a big tournament or something like that when you're getting a lot of reps in. Because I noticed you did that for Arouge, you did that for Zoro, you did that for Shanks, and you also did it for Kid.
Right.
Yeah.
All those cards. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
All those cards. They're on the block for changing ratios. You're not sure in this format. Do I run 3? Do I run 2? Do I run 4? Do I run it at all? And just when trying to just figure out what the best ratio is, it really does give you like a better image, I guess, to just see, does it make sense to run this many? Does it not? Okay, I'm gonna figure out with this, like doing it this way.
Yeah, I totally agree. I do that sometimes as well, just for like testing certain things, or especially when I try and test something new for the first time. I'll like run it at 4 copies, even if I don't think it needs to be 4 copies, just to make sure I see it enough. And then for the more fine tuning, you can do stuff, little tips and tricks like you're doing to do the different rarities. And it's a good excuse if you don't have the full playset of the other rarity. You're like, no, it's for testing purposes. Trust me. I have the SP at home.
No, I'll admit, the 4th Shanks that was not SP, I just couldn't find it in time. It would have been cool, but it did like, honestly, it did come up. Game number 1 against my UP Luffy, the non SP Shanks came up. It was the only one I saw this game. I was like, I'm glad you're there.
He was there for you.
I'm glad he's there. Yeah.
He's like, thanks for putting me in, coach.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, cool. So I'll try and keep it organized as we go through the list. Let's talk about the 2Ks. We got 4 3-cost Tashigi. I think that's just got to be there. The 4 1-cost Apu. I like this card too, especially I think there's still a lot of green purple Luffys, and there's enough like little chump blockers that you want to rest in this meta that I think that's a good call. Do you have any other reasons why you're running the 1-cost Apu instead of something like the new 5-cost Drake or something?
5-cost Drake is a good card. It being a 2K, it resting a higher level body compared to Apu, there's value in that.
Yeah.
That being said, it's pretty expensive to play a 5 cost to rest. What is it, a 4 or a 5?
I think it's 5 or lower.
Yeah, with that kind of Don commitment, you might as well just prep for just play Hody.
Yeah.
Just play. Just guard your life enough to justify playing Hody and just play Hody.
Yeah.
When you play 1 to rest a chunk blocker, it just gives you so much free Dawn to just play whatever you want to play, whether it is a boss monster or commit Dawn for attacks.
Yeah, I totally agree. I actually was looking forward to Drake as oh, this is going to be the new 2K slot in, and I tested it and immediately was like, oh, I just never play this card. I don't see that, because like you said, using 5 Dawn to rest something 5 or less, even when going for lethal, even if you have a Cavendish on board, like that's still so much Dawn commitment, and at the end of the day it normally means you're just not going to get there anyways. So kind of like just using Apu or Izo even to get the like smaller early game rests, and then just, you know, relying on the old faithful strategy of like just playing Hody and having a strong enough board that you can actually go for game, in my opinion, is a little bit better.
Yeah, Izo's is a good card. I usually don't put him in my lists because I do want to keep the supernova ratio up for Bonney searches. It does feel bad when you whiff.
It does.
But you still want to have playable 2Ks. The new starter deck really just helps it out. I thought I would play X Drake, but the other 2K counter in Basil Hawkins is, I think, overall a better pick in playable 2Ks to try out in this meta.
Yeah, I agree.
It does the same thing. Yeah, it does the same thing as a Roger, and even at 4, sometimes you just won't see it. But you need to have that Dawn active at the end of turn. That could also be a body if you need to attack with it at some point. Sometimes you just need that Dawn active, and you know, if it's not a Roger, you're in Basil. Go in.
Yeah, I agree. I do like Izo a lot. Just to help like for little niche situations, especially in the blue purple Luffy matchup, but it does hurt so bad to whiff. Like whiffing with Bonney search can lose you the game sometimes. So it's like when people ask me if they should run Izo or like Apu or a different thing, I always say like, if you're not comfortable whiffing, run the supernova. But if you if I'm running Izo, I normally run it as the 3, like where you have the Hawkins slot. Well, I like to run 4 cost Hawkins and then 3 Izo or Apu, just depending on kind of like how my build is looking. But yeah, I agree. Hawkins is really, really strong. I think it was one of your GP matches on stream, I believe you like didn't really have a play and you put that Hawkins down and he was kind of chilling for like the entire game.
Yeah. I would have preferred it be a Roger, but I mean, Basil did pretty much the same thing I needed a Roger to do, and yeah, I'm glad I put him in the deck. Yeah,
it was strong. I think that was just a good showcase to see like, hey, if you don't have a Rouge on curve, like you can play this, you know. Let's talk about the chump blockers. So we got, obviously you're running 8 cost Kid, so the 4 of the 2 cost Rosie is pretty much like mandatory, right?
Yes.
I agree. And then you're running 3 of the new 2 cost beige. How did you like this beige? Because this card, I love this card. This card is so good. It's awesome. It's amazing. What were your like kind of thoughts on it?
Absolutely. I love this card. Compared to the other chunk blockers, supernovas or Bonney players used to have access to in the past, like say in Killer, the 2 cost Killer, or the Bartolomeo. Let's call it for what it is. If you put attach a Dawn on the Kid and you block and you draw, that feels great. You get an extra card and a block. Sometimes that's not going to happen, and the Dawn commitment sets you behind, and it feels bad. For Bartolomeo, sometimes you just the timing of how you rest things, the effect might not come up, and that kind of feels bad. Sometimes you just need to be able to. You wanted to do the effect. I want to draw and discard right now. And that's what beige does. And in a deck where you run multiple boss monsters or in multiple like non counter cards. I mean, sometimes you just need to find the right boss monster. Sometimes you just need more counter. Sometimes you just need to fix your hand for the situation. Beige does that.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Killer is still nice sometimes behind like a kid or something, right? Or if you want to play him out early and you know that you can get the value later on, because beige feels bad if you have to try and play him early, right? You're probably just not going to play him too early unless you can, unless for some reason you really feel you need to get a chump blocker down.
Right.
So there's like a few situations where beige doesn't feel as good, but man, just like, I mean, from turn 3-4 onward, like it's very easy to get the 6 rested cards in order to use the beige effect. And like you said, especially because we're running all of our top end except for kid is unsearchable as well. So not only are we fixing our hand, we're getting 1 card closer to drawing that Shanks or that Zoro that we need, right? I think he's really, really strong. There you could make an argument for certain metas, like if there's more Blackbeard or something in the meta, maybe Killer or Bardo could be better. But yeah, at this time, like beige just he's one of those low-key like MVP cards where like he looked good on paper, but then when I actually played him like in real life, I was like, man, this is crazy. This is so huge for Bonney. She needed this kind of like draw cycle card so much.
Yeah, and I think in the East meta or format, they have access to the new Bonney card.
Yes.
And I'm not familiar with how often that card is used in Bonney, but it does feel good being able to not just draw extra cards, but essentially cycling. So for us on our side, just beige getting a little sneak peek of what can we achieve on like when green has access to easy cycling.
Yeah, I live in Japan and I've been playing the new 5-cost Secret Rare Bonney, and let me tell you, it's nice. It feels great. It feels amazing.
Yeah. Cycle, blocker,
you
Supernova,
get the Dawn back up too. Yeah. Oh,
that's great. That's great.
On 9 Dawn, you can do something like play 8-cost Mihawk, and then you have 5 Dawn left over. You can play Bonney, get the cycle, and restand the Dawn as well. So even if you don't have an Arouge on board, you just got 2 blockers. You just cycled your hand, and you get the Dawn restand. Like, it's crazy. And when the starter decks are coming out over here in the East this weekend, so we'll finally have access to like beige as well. So I think we're going to start seeing some really awesome, cool, consistent Bonney lists where even if you're not running stuff like Law and Beppo, you're just going to be able to find your top end when you need it because you have that more like draw and cycle. And I'm so excited for that type of thing because, I don't know, as Bonney players, we know the struggle of just being like, I saw 0 top end and I died because I drew like 8 2Ks and 3 0 costs, or like, you know, the opposite, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, super excited for that. I agree. I think beige is really, really strong. So the 7 chump blockers and the 4 rouge, right? I think that's a good ratio. I don't like to ever go below 6 chump blockers, but I like to keep it between 7 and 8, especially for, you know, the kid plan.
Right.
Yep, that's good. Let's move on to so we got the 2Ks, we got the blockers. We talked about our mid game with the Cavendish and Carrots. We got the 4 Hody. I don't think there's much we need to talk about there. He's the GOAT. He's just amazing. I agree. I think in this meta you just got to run 4. I don't think there's much debate in that. And then 3 ACOS Kid. And well, let's just talk. So 3 ACOS Kid. You got 4 Shanks, 4 9-cost Shanks, and 3 9-cost Zoro.
Right.
How did we can go in order? How did Kid feel for you this weekend? How integral to the build do you think he still is in OP11?
I would say he's fairly integral. I don't know how necessary it is. At least in from my experience this weekend.
Yeah.
There are games when he just comes up big time, clutches the game.
Right.
That being said, you never know if your opponent is running any kind of tech against big walls. You never know if they have, you know, or if they're running the Gamma Knife. That just feels insanely bad, and you just wish you would have played a more aggressive boss monster.
Right.
Or a style like in Shanks or Zoro, because they're not going to get affected by Gamma Knife that hard compared to Kid.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah, the Gamma Knife, Mole Pistol, like there are enough tech cards out there where like if you rely on Kid too heavily, I feel like you get super punished in certain situations, which is never a good feeling.
Yeah, and there's definitely a lot of other types of just no matter what card it is, it gets removed, like the Red Rock.
Right. Yeah.
And if you're just putting down a body without, say, Tashigi, you get no value out of dropping Kid. Besides possibly leaving a chunk blocker. At least with, say, Shanks, if he gets Red Rocked, at least he pops something. Hopefully.
Right. Yeah. Hopefully, that's true. Yeah, he seems not 1000% necessary, but still is like just such a good card. He's a searchable top end. He's very, very strong. Probably good to keep at least 2 to 3 copies in your list for OP11. I would say that's probably safe to assume. What about? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, searchable boss monsters is very valuable, and especially in Bonney. And if for whatever reason, it's in your hand, you don't need it. The fact that you have more access to cycling with like Beiji, just throw it away. Just chunk it. If the game isn't going the way that where it justifies dropping Kid with a big hand, or you're not seeing your chunk blockers, or you're just gonna end up playing Zoro or Shanks, just beige it out. Beige it out.
That's true. Having that luxury to just be like, oh, I can just pitch this off beige now is so strong.
I'm not going to use this, or I only need one.
Right. Yeah. Whereas before it was like either the 0 cost or it was just stuck in her hand forever, basically.
Yeah, just stuck in hand.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. And then you went for 4 Shanks, which I think is actually a pretty good call. And Shanks is still very strong in this meta. What did you find was like the strongest times that you played Shanks, like throughout the weekend?
I would say, as early as possible against UP Luffy.
Yeah.
In the during Swiss, in the back of my mind, anytime I was playing UP Luffy, I would always be thinking, do they have Red Rock? And do I have a Tashigi on my board? If I have Tashigi, I'll play the Zoro and let them figure it out. But if Tashigi isn't on board and they have a boss monster I can pop, Shanks is good and not just slowing the game down and popping their body. But if they end up wanting to, Shanks is pretty much for UP Luffy is just going to stay there for the rest of the game. It's a big commitment for UP Luffy to attack into Shanks. To even contest it means they're not going to drop a boss monster of their own. It's a big commitment, so Shanks just stays there the rest of the game, and 11k is nothing to sneeze at, even for a 6k leader in Luffy.
Yeah, I agree. Getting the Shanks down just means he's there, because like if they even want to try and attack into it, it's like 2, 3, 4 Dawn that they got to use, and then like they can play a Nami blocker and leave up like 1 or 2 Dawn, and that's such a bad turn for Luffy, and like it just requires like a 2k from us. So he's out. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, if they don't want to deal with it and then just go, or if they want to just Red Rock it, so to speak, then it feels bad, but at least they got to do something. And then in your mindset, you can go thinking, well, do they have more Red Rocks? Maybe it's safer to play the Zoro now. And then we'll just go from there. Yeah,
if they Red Rock or Shanks, I'm gonna be assuming like, all right, either this Giga Chad has second Red Rock and they're just trying to bait me to play a 9-cost Zoro, or 9-cost Zoro is probably safe to play now, or just follow it up with like another Shanks or something too. As long as you're getting the value of popping their characters. It is rough sometimes if the blue purple Luffy opponent like really knows the Bonney matchup and they find their curve of like Kata into mom, or like Kata into mom, Sanji mom. Like, it can be really hard for us to find the time to play Shanks. But for the most part, like especially a lot of people want to play the Sanji combo, right? Like even if it's them high rolling and it's getting like Kata into like Sanji Mom, they're still the next turn going to have at least Sanji rested for us to play the Shanks, and even just getting the value there and having the 11k on the board, I think is very, very strong. Yeah, over here in Japan, I played the ratios I normally played were like 3 Shanks, 4 Zoro, but it kind of switched back and forth sometimes just depending on how many blue purple were in the meta. And speaking of which, let's move on to Zoro. So you got 3 Zoro. I'm assuming this was mostly a decision because of how many people are playing blue purple Luffy, but we also saw like on stream, we saw that one game where Zoro just like decimated the green purple Luffy match that one time. Which was really awesome to see. I try and tell people that Zoro is good against green purple Luffy, and it may seem counterintuitive because they're like, how do we have time to play it? But I think you did a really good job of showing like you can slow the game down enough, especially like if they're not super crazy high rolling or anything, right? You can slow the game down enough to where you can safely play Zoro, and then you just dominate the board and the game for the rest, or like for the rest of the game, right?
Yeah, in some games, sometimes at least in the GP, sometimes they won't attack you. Whether it be trying to starve you or if they're trying to just do like a one turn just attack with all your all their characters. Any way the game gets slowed down definitely justifies you running and playing Zoro.
Yeah, because
if they want to starve, that's fine. If Zoro hits the field, he's gonna start swinging.
Yeah, especially for GP, like you can get out of 1 or 2 swings maybe with a Gum Giant, but like you're not protecting your board, you're not protecting lethal as long as Bonney is healthy. It was the top 4 match, unfortunately that last game too, because you had Zoro down, but then I think it was when you played the kid, if you just had the chump blocker, it would have pretty much been GG's, I think, because you had enough counter in hand. You just needed the chump blocker, and I was like, no chump blocker, no.
Yeah. I think I used a few chump blockers earlier in that game, and I took a few life to see if I could draw into one, an extra one. I think if I had a chump blocker or a 2k in last life,
right,
it could have gone a little differently.
Yeah, that was a little unfortunate. I tried it. I was watching the match. couldn't watch it live, but I watched all the matches, and I like went back and I was like tried to do the math. Like, could he have swung into board with Zoro and then like played the carry and then and I don't think there was really any way out for you. So I think what you ended up going with was justifiable, of just like, hey, if I get the counter that I need, I'll win. If not, it's like, it is what it is, kind of a thing.
Right.
Yeah, especially if they had the rush. I think they had like 2 Usohachi and a Gum Giant in their hand. But if they had the rush Luffy, then even if you cleared almost their entire board, it still would have been GG. So there's a lot to play around in that situation, and it was just a little unfortunate that you didn't have the chump blocker there. But to get back, we'll finish up the list here. So Zoro, do you think he's necessary in OP11 right now?
I would say he was extremely necessary. At least for me, I do want to rely and use him in this meta, in this format. In a meta with lots of UP Luffy, and even Bonney mirrors. You don't want to go into a Bonney mirror without Zoro.
Yeah.
There's definitely different ways of playing Luffy, whether they try to starve you out, or if they high roll in. Sorry, I'm getting a little confused. I would say it's very useful against a UP Luffy.
Yeah.
Because UP Luffy does want to acquire more resources while trying to either starve you or just throw things back in your life on your board, just clearing out your board with Big Mom while getting more cards, getting more life.
Yeah.
Zoro doesn't let them do that for a second. They have to respect the Zoro. Whether it be make sure they use Red Rock instead of dropping boss monsters, or try to end the game if they're close, or just develop more blockers. Once Zoro comes out in UP Luffy, the game does revolve around him.
Yeah, I agree. I think he puts a pressure on the board that, like you said, like if they red rock him, they can't establish a boss monster that turn, and they can't establish a Nami either, which is very, very important. Like if they're running the 3-cost Doflamingo or a chump blocker, sure, they can play that, but not being able to play their like favorite low cost blocker and like get more cards and like kind of set up for the next turn is really, really important if they're going to choose to red rock it. And even if they do red rock him, like we have, you know, backups in like Shanks and Kid, and that is a situation where I do think like having the 4 Shanks is kind of nice, because if you get the Zoro down, let's say you don't have a Tashigi or something, if it does get red rocked and you have your Shanks in the back, like it's still pretty good. Not like the worst thing in the world, and hopefully they'll have the rest of the character that you can pop with Shanks like the next turn, or just if you have it, second Zoro.
Just play a second Zoro. Do they have Red Rock number 2? Do they have Red Rock number 3?
Yeah. And I think this was so in Japan, like we once we figured out how good Zoro was against Blue Purple Luffy, it was just everyone just started running 4 Zoros, and it was like for a couple weeks it was so nice because they weren't really running Red Rock yet in Blue Purple Luffy, and it was just like if Zoro touched the board, it was like GG's scoop for the Blue Purple Luffy player, which like was so awesome. But then they they kind of had to people were running 2 to 3 puddings. They were running like 2 Red Rocks. People were getting really smart about like even like Usohachi, Rest Tashigi, Red Rock, Zoro, and it was like, like stop figuring out how to beat me. But the undeniable thing is that Zoro is the best top end against Blue Purple Luffy. Like there is no arguing it in my opinion, at least. And like throughout all OP11, even Blue Purple Luffy kind of went up, and he was always the most played deck, but he did dip a little bit, and like Bonnie's changed their list depending on what the other like top meta decks were, and some people started taking Zoro out, especially at the very end of OP11, for even putting 10-cost Dofi in for like Pluffy and GP and other matchups like that. But like I just couldn't bring myself to really take Zoro out. I did at the beginning of OP11 for the West. I tried to do as much testing without Zoro as possible. Like, is Law and Beppo good enough? Like, can it work? Can we make it work without Zoro? Because if you can beat Blue Purple Luffy without like heavily relying on Zoro, you can focus on all the other matchups more. But like, unfortunately, I think in the couple weeks that the star decks have been out now, I do, and especially after watching like your performance and some of the other Bonney players and stuff this past weekend, it's just like, if you want the highest rate of beating Blue Purple Luffy, I think you need to run 3 to 4 Zoro, and it's just like it's kind of as simple. Unfortunately, it's kind of as simple as that, at least in my opinion.
And it's kind of interesting when talking about Zoro now, because back then, like even in when Bonney first came out in OP7,
right?
You could play Zoro then, and maybe there was some success in playing Zoro, but with all the Lucci around, it was just impossible. It was extremely impossible, hopeless, dreadful. You didn't want, like, you get no value out of playing Zoro, and it felt really bad. And now there's this chance where Zoro can shine, and it feels good to play it. And I mean, maybe the West here will adjust. Maybe they'll run more Red Rocks, or Lucci will come out of their hole and start wrecking Bonney again. But it is fun. It was fun. It is fun playing Zoro.
It always feels nice. And that was one of the things too. I think in the East we had once they cracked the code on like the OP11 Lucci, he was very prominent for a while too, so it made it harder for us to run Zoro. But yeah, I mean, dude, you got 2 manga Zoros, like those look nice. I would want to play those too. I completely understand. And yeah, it feels great playing Zoro. Like, it's just so nice knowing like half the meta has like no answer to him, or like it's hard for them to answer him. Like, it just, I don't know, it felt amazing for me playing him in OP11 over here as well, so I totally understand. Okay, all right, so that's it for the deck list. We got into the weeds a little bit. I know we talked about we hit on some of the questions I had for you already, which is great. But just to quickly go over your run, right? Because I want to give you like the highest of like congratulations here, because you hit 5 blue purple Luffys in Swiss, and you beat all of them.
Yes.
Congratulations, sir. You've won One Piece.
Thanks. I don't know if it was just a combination of they didn't hyper roll their game plan, or they just weren't prepared for Zoros or multiple Zoros.
Right.
But the deck that I went with, I did feel extremely comfortable going into this matchup.
Yeah.
I did make this deck with that in mind, and at least in terms of Swiss, it was the deck I saw the most. It was the deck I was expecting to see the most. And a lot of the card, like I don't think there's a card that doesn't perform in against UP Luffy with my 50.
Yeah, I would agree. Because if you run stuff like Tenko's Dofi, that's like, it's like it is against Teach. It's like having a certain top end card that's not, Dofi's not a dead card against blue purple Luffy, but it's a very hard card to actually play powerfully, like in a good situation. So just like trimming all the fat, just running Shanks, Zoro, Kid, and obviously the Hodies, I think is a very good play. Let me quickly run through all the rounds real quick. So round 1 was blue purple Luffy. Round 2 was a Bello Betty. Round 3 and 4 and 5 were 3 blue purple Luffys. Then you hit a Teach round 6, a Bonney Mirror round 7, a Lucci round 8, another Bonney Mirror round 9, and a final blue purple Luffy in round 10. And then the day 2 top cut was top 32 was a Bello Betty, top 16 was a GP Luffy, top 8 was a Pluffy, and then top 4 where your run ended was another GP Luffy. So pretty varied. Obviously a ton of blue purple Luffys on the first day, but like everything else, and going into day 2, I think you hit a good bit of variance. So like a really nice matchup spread as far as like what you played, and we can see I'm assuming like how was the Bello on the first day? How was the round 2 Bello Betty? Was it just like a crazy high roll or something?
It was a really good high roll that they had. I think it was double Searcher into Ivankov into Karasu into Koala and honestly all of that was fairly manageable. He did play very aggressively. It was just towards the end I just forgot one of his buffed characters could attack, and it was just like oh, that's right. Oops. Oops.
Hey, it happens. That's a pretty crazy. The funny thing is, like, Bello Betty can high roll like that, and Bonney sometimes is still like, I'm chilling. Like, it's fine. I got it. Yeah. But no, I mean, look, man, I've lost to plenty of Bettys in my day, especially if they're running Zeus. If they catch you slipping with a Zeus, and then you lose the tempo that you should have gotten from a Carrot or Cavendish, it can actually hurt really bad.
Zeus can catch you off guard. Even like a Koala reducing Kid if you're hiding behind Kid. Koala into a Dragon play where it's just a high rusher, and then also giving out more Dawn to follow-up attacks is extremely strong and can catch people off guard.
True. But yeah, it happens. You won everything else. So you went 9-1 day 1 Swiss, which is awesome. Top 32, we don't have to go into too much detail about the actual matches. Like top 32, you beat a Bello Betty. Top 16, you beat a GP. Top 8, you beat a Pluffy. And then GP was 1-2 against the GP Luffy. And I think, sorry, correct me if I'm wrong, the top 16 and the top 4, you were on the stream, right, for the regional?
Correct. Yeah. Yes, but both those games I was on stream.
Cool. I implore anyone who's watching to go watch those games if you want to see, because you had a few games where like I think it was the top 16 where like you were just like playing nothing but Shankses. Like it looked like you had like just nothing in your hand, and like you were, if you want to see like a good way to like place your outs and how to beat GP Luffy when like things don't always go correctly, I think those top 16 and top 4 matches are like good study material for people if they want to see. Yeah, there was. I think it was the top 16. There was one of those games where I was just like, oh my god, he's just like not drawing anything.
Yeah, there was one game I think in top 4 where
top 4 maybe.
I just
Sorry.
did not. The first game in top 16 may have been similar, but I can definitely remember vividly. My game 1 or in top 4 was just cursed. I saw one searcher, I believe, but no Cavendish, no Eroge. I saw a Basil Hawkins, and looking back, I thought, you know what, it's a body. It's gonna I can set up something so I don't have a completely naked board. But I ended up taking a Captain Kidd instead. And then of course I draw another one, so I didn't even need that one in the first place. And it was just cursed.
Yeah. But good showing though overall, like especially just I think the one match where you got the Zoro down and just dominated, I think was a really, really awesome display of like, hey, this is how you beat GP with Zoro if you want to see how that works. Yeah.
If you can establish a Zoro, and if they're trying to hide behind a chunk blocker like a Chopper, they can get extremely punished. Just dropping the Scratchman Apu for 1 Dawn to rest their Chopper, letting Zoro attack 3 times into their board. So, something's gonna go. And they're gonna it's gonna hurt when they don't have Sanji Pudding on the board anymore. And once you start to see what the board looks like, then you can check to you can finish it up with playing more going back to defensive mode, because if they get rid of your Zoro, that's you might be done. So you don't want to be caught with 2 little cards in hand if you leave Zoro rested. Sometimes it might be a good idea to just leave him active, and then just swing back again on your next turn. So don't feel. I would say don't feel the need to always attack in not just GP, but especially the Bonney mirror. Sometimes you just don't leave your Zoro rested sometimes.
Yes. I believe we saw you do it one time, I think, against one of the GPs, where you just like swung twice, you leave it standing. Like you can't just do a all dawn punch or anything. Like you gotta swing it. I have 3 or 4 life. Like you gotta swing at my life here, give me resources, and then next turn I can set up with a kid or something, and then normally from there it's pretty good. And yeah, that's very good advice. I think especially a rested Zoro gets hit by all of the green top end, right? Shanks KOs it, Dofi stuns it, even Law and Beppo stuns it now. But yeah, so really amazing run. I wanted to say congratulations again. Good job on the top 4. Really, really cool.
Thank you.
Was fun watching the games on stream. I'm glad. Yeah, it was like seeing Bonney on stream. I'm always biased. Like, yes, please more Bonney. But yeah, I think it showed too, because I think a lot of people kind of just dismiss Bonney, kind of counter out as like oh yeah, she's just that annoying leader to play against. It's not like actually meta viable. And I think people like you and some of the other people who top this weekend, it really shows like, hey, no guys, if you're skilled enough and you have a good enough list, like this deck is totally meta viable, and like you really can make it all the way to the top with it.
I agree. I think overall people were not expecting Bonney to perform to this extent. The starter deck cards do make it more consistent. And I mean, in a game where you got to play 10 rounds to make it to day 2, consistency is key.
That's true.
So yeah, I'm glad I was able to perform well with Bonney and show what Bonney can do.
Yeah. Just like 1 or 2 more questions, and then I'll let you go. I know we've been going on for a little while here, but
no problem.
I totally forgot. I meant to ask earlier, but talking about the starter cards, right? We've kind of gone over all of them essentially, except for like Law and Beppo. Just real quick, do you have any thoughts on Law and Beppo? Have you tried it out? What do you think about the card?
I did try the week like the last week in sim and locals. Law and Beppo is a good card. A boss monster that's searchable is very valuable.
Yeah.
I like it. I wanted to use it. I think like 8 or 9, 10 times out of 10.
Yeah.
I would rather see Shanks or Zoro.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for my boss monster slots, I ended up taking out Law and Beppo. I think I tried it at 2. I just took them out and just upped the ratios of Shanks and Zoro. I want to like it. Or enough to put it in the deck.
Right.
Maybe in future formats there might see there might be value in using it. Just I just prefer to see the other boss monsters.
Yeah.
So
I totally understand. I think he's like, it's this thing. It's really weird with Law and Beppo, right? Like, the card's good. The card's not bad. It's just not necessarily like good enough to like justify running over some of the other top end most of the time. I think Law and Beppo at 2 is totally nice. It feels good in the deck, actually. The problem is just then we don't have the room for the other boss monsters that we kind of need to prioritize.
Yeah.
I've been testing them a lot too. When the card first came out, I got my proxies. I printed out proxies. I went to my the testing session with my friends that I go to weekly, and they literally, like you just said, I was like 9 out of 10 times I just would have rather seen Shanks. Like, every time I played him. The 7k leader buff is really, really nice. That is one thing I think that's grown on me. Like, my initial impression was like down here, and then after some more like forced testing, it kind of went up a little bit, but Shanks and Zoro are kind of like up here, right? So
right.
Yeah, it's just I agree, like, in a different format, in a different meta, Law and Beppo could be an extremely strong card, especially for us going into OP13, where we're getting like a Roger leader that's a base 7k leader. These kinds of things might kind of like, I don't know, they might start popping up more, or as the rotation happens and all the old boss monsters get rotated out. So
right. I don't want to count out Law and Beppo just yet, but just not right now.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Like, I think if people want to run him, I don't think there's anything wrong. I was actually having some mild success with like a weird build that ran like Dofi and Law and Beppo. You just had to see like good curve against blue purple and find your Hodies. And I at the end of the day, like, after just going back and testing more Zoro builds again, I'm just like, yeah, if you want the consistency there, it's probably just best to run obviously like Shanks and Zoro. But I do think there's still some stuff you can do, because at the beginning of the meta it was a lot of like buggies and more black purple Luffys. Not everyone was on blue purple yet, so I do think there was a niche kind of week or two where Law and Beppo was actually like pretty playable. But yeah, in a more competitive standpoint, it's kind of hard to play him.
Yeah, it sometimes it is rough to play those cards. That being said, I did notice in some of the other Bonney lists that topped, I think some did run Law and Beppo.
Yeah.
So you can see success playing those cards, and maybe it comes down to matchup lottery.
Yeah.
Did it pay off playing that card against this deck, or just or even just personal play style, because Bonney players can play differently, and it's not there's not just one way to play Bonney.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like using absolutes when like telling people, especially for like Bonney deck lists. Like, there's so many different ways you can do it. I do think at the end of the day, there are some things that kind of show to be true more so than others, but yeah, like, if you can find a way to slot in like 2 Law and Beppo in your list and it still works smoothly with your ratios, I think it's great. Like, it's a good card to have in a pinch, and in certain situations can be really, really nice to get that like 7k leader buff.
Right.
Okay, cool. So just the last thing here, I just wanted to, since blue purple Luffy is the big bad of the meta, and is probably going to be for the most of the OP11 meta, just really quickly, just wanted to get like a quick your take on like a little cheat sheet of like the things you like to do for the matchup, and then we can finish from there. But so when you're facing blue purple Luffy, do you like to go first or second?
I like to go second. You getting more cards is always nice. Being able to either drop Eroge on curve, or if they don't, if they either, how do I say that, is if they either just play gear 2 on their 3 Dawn turn to ramp, that means they don't have a body, which means you can swing 6 at leader and then play establish your Tashigi, which means not only did I force either life or a card in your hand, and I would say, at the risk of getting triggered like by a ramp or you still have to sometimes you still have to swing at them, because if it's a trigger, it's going to trigger either way, unless you're playing smoker. Playing out Tashigi early or a Roge is very valuable. After that, you can start establishing searchers, Cavendish, cyclers. Just start preparing for the mid game. You have to be able to churn out pressure, whether it be from attacking with your leader or any body that you can establish. Which is why Cavendish is nice, obviously, but you can even see value playing out a carrot, because 6 into 6, you don't have to commit a Dawn to swing at the leader. So there's value in even playing out carrot.
Like if you have no other choice, like just getting the body on the board is sometimes worth it.
And if you can establish a Tashigi, they're gonna have to deal with it. If you want to be, if you're going for a more aggressive Zoro play, just drop a second Tashigi.
That's true.
And if you're going for the Zoro play, dropping 2 Tashigis means if you play Zoro, he's going to stay for 1 round of swings at the very least.
At the least.
So that might telegraph to your opponent, I've got he has less 2Ks, I need to be more aggressive. So hopefully you could either you can find other ways to slow them down, whether it be playing out your pseudo blocker and Bonney, or your baby chunk blockers while you're cycling for. So I mean, you can slow the game down or just be annoying with your board, so that you can be comfortable into playing your boss monsters end game in Zoro or Shanks.
So I like second too. The thing with first and second, it's kind of hard, right? If you give blue purple Luffy second, they get their reliable ramp curve, so they're essentially almost always going to hit their turn 4 leader ability. If you force them to go first, they have to triple ramp if they want to get to their turn 4 leader ability, which I think is really the going second as Bonney is the more consistent way to throw them off, right? We can sort of high roll if we go first. We hit like Tashigi, Cavendish, they don't have God Thread. We hit Hody, Zoro, and then we just kind of like win the game. But that's relying on like 3 unsearchable cards to hit on curve. So it's a much less reliable way for us to like play the game. I did find though, like, did you feel going second, like playing Zoro on 10, I'm guessing, or do you like to get a Shanks down first before you play Zoro? I like to try and play Zoro as quickly as possible, especially if I have like the Tashigi on board.
If there's a body that they already have established on board, it's very tempting to drop Shanks. Because hopefully maybe if they have 2 bodies with a Sanji Big Mom, then it's gonna suck. But if you can get rid of that Big Mom with Shanks before they establish a Katakuri on the follow-up, they're not setting 2 bodies active.
True.
So that you can hopefully guarantee a second Shanks pop into their Sanji afterwards.
That's a good point. So like, read the board, right? If they have the rested character, if you think you get more value with the Shanks, you can go Shanks, right? But if they don't have any rested characters and you think you can get more value with the pressure, like play the Zoro. Would you say that's probably fair?
I would say it's very fair. And also there's definitely value in playing out or ensuring you either have Eroge Basil or Cavendish. In my experience, if they have Katakuri, and you present 9 Dawn active, they're always going to be thinking, is if I free block with Katakuri, is it going to get Shanks right now?
Yeah.
And you have to pressure cards from hand or life any way you can, because if you let them run away with the game, getting extra cards, not attacking, they're going to run the game. They're going to run away with the game.
Right.
They're going to out resource you very quickly. So if you can try to sometimes with a good player, you're not gonna bait them into free blocking with Katakuri with 9 Dawn into a Shanks.
Yeah.
But if they don't fall for it, okay, well then Katakuri did nothing for their turn, and you can play Zoro. Just play Zoro.
Yeah, Zoro, and you're getting cards out of their hand. Like if you get a few chip swings in, and they know like, okay, if I rest this kata, I die. At the very least, you're getting like a 1k, 2k, or even some situations if you have that Hody and you swing 8, they don't have gear second, you're forcing a Gum Gum Giant out of their hand, which is really, really nice, especially if they just played a 9 Mom. Because then if they don't have the kata, like if they don't have the Dawn for the Gum Gum Giant, they can't really use it. There's a lot of it may seem bad for us, but there's a lot of awkward situations we can kind of put them in. And then I agree, like, okay, you didn't block with your kata, I'm not playing the Shanks, guess what, I'm playing Zoro. And I think that's like the either or situation of Shanks or Zoro is really kind of like the pressure that Bonney needs to just make sure, like you said, that Blue Purple Luffy, the minute they can kind of run away with the game with like out resourcing and out valuing us, is when we will never get back into the game and we will lose. So making sure that doesn't really happen, I think, is very important.
Yeah, I would also add, you can with all 3 boss monsters that like I have in my deck, there's definitely, they all perform very well in the end game with Yuki Luffy. Like even with the other boss monster, Captain Kid. With 9 Dawn, you can still and active end of turn. You can drop Kid, attach Dawn. If you throw down Tashigi with the Kid, I mean, even if there's no blocker out, or if you don't want to use a blocker just yet, you can let Kid go. But the fact that the Tashigi remains can be huge for when you want to establish Zoro next turn.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And yeah, it makes it awkward for Luffy, because we were kind of talking about it before, right? But they can't put a lot of Dawn on their characters to swing into things, because they want to be playing those 8 and 9 costs for like at least a couple turns until the very like last couple of turns. Luffy is essentially like, you're just gonna be 8 and a 9k. Sometimes for Kid, they'll put the 1 Dawn on and swing like 10 if they're just gonna play like a kata and leave up 1 or something like that. But for the most part, like even without a blocker, a semi early Kid is like only gonna require like 2-3 cards out of hand, even if you don't have any blockers to like defend him, right? And then that's a great point of like getting the Tashigi out, just knowing that like, okay, I'm playing Zoro next turn, and then you can't answer the Zoro yet, and it's like, now I'm setting you back a turn. My Zoro sticks for sure. I didn't take too much damage the turn before with Kid. That's a really good, I think, like kind of tip there.
Yeah, and even if you are also just playing Captain Kid as early as you can, say on 8 Dawn with the Cavendish, you can play Kid, and if you establish a Kid, they have choices to make on their own as well. Do I commit Dawn to try to challenge the Kid, or do I keep establishing more bodies? And say they do establish more bodies, most of the time they can't commit too much Dawn after that to go for the Kid, or they just don't attack at all because it's pointless.
Yeah. Or they know like, oh, if I swing this 9k, it just makes a 2k, and then he can Shanks it the next turn or something, like.
Right.
Yeah, just putting them in awkward situations, I think is good. I do like the early Kid play a lot too. Like if Cavendish sticks and you're on your 8 Dawn turn, it's another thing I think that's nice about going second is like if that Cavendish sticks, because one thing you can do too is on your 6 Dawn play is play Cavendish and Tashigi at the same time. You just won't have the Dawn up unless you have like an Arouge from the turn before. But like in a pinch, that's still really strong. And then if you play Kid after that and then establish like Shanks and Zoro the following turns, as long as you have the Dawn restand. But even like you can play Kid the first turn, and then you don't have to put the Dawn on him like the second turn if you want them to swing at
Right.
life and stuff too. So I think that's like, there's so many little niche lines that you can do with Bonney, and it's really, really hard. I think there's so many different things you can always do. It's always like I always see Bonney as that like a Marvel like multiverse kind of like thread thing that comes out where there's just so many like lines and options you can choose. So it does make it hard to choose the right one, but there's always so many different things I think you can try and do.
I agree.
Okay, so the maybe last thing real quick just to talk about so I think that's pretty good. I think people will hopefully they'll have a better understanding of the blue purple matchup. We've talked a lot about the list, a lot about other matchups. Obviously we didn't go into too much detail about some of the other matchups. Would have loved to maybe talk more about the Teach matchup and stuff from your day one Swiss, but I don't want to keep you too long. The last thing I want to just ask is like,
no problem.
Yeah. I know some people have been running like myself, I've been actually running 7-cost Bonney a little bit. Some people run the 5-cost Smoker, and I do think 5-cost Bonney is actually kind of strong in this meta too for like throwing off Dawn curves. What do you think about like mainly 5-cost Smoker is what I want to ask you about, but is there any other techs or other things you're like thinking about changing to this list as we kind of like go into the rest of the OP11 meta?
For OP11, I don't. How should I put this? For OP11, I did want to try to make some of those other cards work, like Smoker.
Yeah.
Smoker's a good card, especially against matchups like UP Luffy, where a nasty trigger could just switch the game, or even Teach, where you want them to have as little resources as possible, and maybe get rid of a 10 Teach, hopefully.
Yeah.
But in my experience in running it, it's a great card to have on curve. It feels really bad to see it later and not do anything. It feels really bad, and in a tournament where you're going to play 9-10 rounds, you're going to see him later and it's going to feel bad. And there is the idea where you just throw it away with beige or 0 cost, or maybe it'll come up later and you'll see value, and maybe there is a way to squeeze them in there, just maybe with more testing. I do like Smoker, and I do like the 5-cost Bonney as well. I did have it in earlier builds against UP because I did notice that they want to play 9. They need 9 Dawn to drop a Sanji whatever.
Yeah.
And if you can stun and if you can slow them down for 1 turn, that might set the rest of the game in your favor. It feels really good. That being said, if they end up just saying, you know what, I have 8 Dawn and I Katakuri in my hand, my plans did not change. I'm gonna just play that, and maybe you get a little bit punished because it really didn't affect them too much. But I could definitely see more justification in playing the 5-cost Bonney, because the effect is pretty valuable, and it being a supernova, if it doesn't come up, it's a 1k counter. That's searchable. Again, then the question is, what card do you take out?
Yeah, exactly. I agree. I have the same exact feelings for Smoker. I love Smoker. I've played Smoker in some of my OP11 lists, but normally ended up taking him out. 5-cost Bonney, I think that what you said is exactly the only problem with it is like stunning their on curve 9 Dawn play is great. It's really, really awesome, but unfortunately just playing Kata and then doing another 9 cost the next turn, if they have the Kata and they're just like, it's fine. Like, I wanted to play this Sanji 9 Mom, but I'll just play this broken blocker that I have in my hand instead. But you do set them back a little bit. But yeah, it's a space issue. It's a like not sure if there's enough value kind of issue. Yeah. Is there anything, are there any spicy techs or any like weird things you want to try just for fun, even just going forward?
I wouldn't say, I mean, maybe it was weird before, but I think there's I've seen, I don't know if it's resurgence is the right way, or maybe like a breath of life in using the Pedro card.
Pedro, yeah.
From I think OP11. Pedro's a great card.
Yeah.
And I started recently using it in the EBO2 meta when GP Luffy was everywhere for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And Pedro is extremely effective against GP. Most of the time, they're not going to be able to use their stage card to protect all of their Sanji puddings.
Right.
So if you just rest accordingly and block at the right time, one Sanji pudding's out, and that can set them back for the whole game if they don't have extra ones.
Yeah.
Or just follow it up with a Shanks on the other one, and their Dawn resource generation is just demolished.
Yeah. I like Pedro too. I think it was a really spicy tech that I think really you guys in the West did more than we did over here in EBO2. People play it in Japan every now and then. He like comes in and out during the sets. I actually was testing him again in OP12 because he's actually really good against Green Zoro. Because if they use the new 5-cost Tashigi to rest your Pedro, you can use the Bonney. If you have the Dawn up, you can rest their Tashigi and KO it at the very same time. So like sets Zoro back a lot. Yeah.
Okay.
Which normally we don't have a good play on that like 5 or 6 Dawn turn as Bonney against Zoro. So yeah, Pedro is such a cool card. It's like one of the only ways we can like KO stuff but also be protective, and like it has counter. It's not just a brick, it's not like radio knife or something, right? That's cool.
Another card that I've always wanted to try to use and take advantage of is the 8-cost Rosinante.
Yeah.
And it feels really weird because on paper this should make sense on so many levels.
Right.
You can play a 5, you have many 5s, you can play more 5s, but for some reason it just doesn't come up as often as you would like it to. It just doesn't, and maybe it might just come down to my personal play style because again, some people I think played it in the other Bonney list that ended up topping in Las Vegas.
Casey's list, I think he ran 1, and he was running the 5-cost Bonney. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
He did it. I think he played it on stream too, and I was like, oh, spicy.
And maybe if there is a resurgence in Lucci, maybe there is justification in adding more copies of Rosinante to for a little extra protection.
Yeah.
So if other Bonney players see success in Rosinante, you know, maybe it's time for me to like think back. You know, maybe
test them out again.
Let's use them. The SP looks really cool. Let's use it. Let's use it.
Very true. Yeah, I love 8-cost Rosie. He's a cool card, but yeah, you have to build your deck around him a little bit, and it's a little bit harder to use. And the 8K body, like Rosie Bonney feels good against Blue Purple Luffy, but like Rosie Smoker can just feel too slow sometimes, and like or like Rosie Carrot like doesn't feel good most of the time. There's a few caveats with him, but yeah, like you said, if Lucci comes up, if there's other matchups that you're seeing success with it in, then totally, I think it's very, very strong.
Yeah. Actually, I did remember of one other card on the Spice Watch.
Yeah.
I've seen this. I don't know if it came up in East list or West list, but the 6-cost Jinbei. From OP11.
Yeah, I've seen some people.
It's got a really useful effect that one is a main effect. So if you're playing Teach, there's definitely value in playing it against Teach to control the board with an AK body.
True.
In case you don't have it's an extra, it's an extra Hody Jones or even a Hody Jones you can play earlier without taking life.
Right. True.
To just try to control the board a little more.
Yeah.
And AK body is nothing to sneeze at. So he might be around for a little while.
Yeah.
Even if you don't get the full effects of Jinbei. it's definitely a card worth play testing.
Yeah.
That I do want to try to mess around with that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I do like it. It's unfortunate because you don't get the full effect, obviously, of like the rest, and you can only swing into the rested characters the turn he's played because he doesn't get the full rush. But like you said, like an AK body that can just swing immediately into the board is pretty strong. Like it's not bad at all. Yeah. There was definitely a few Giga Chads over here in Japan who were running like the full Fishman like Bonney lists and stuff. So
with like Van Decker.
Yeah,
and
Vanderdecken. Yeah.
It's so cool.
There was a few people who did like I don't think they won any flagships, but I think they won a locals or like maybe a smaller like unofficial tournament or something. But yeah, there were some mad lads in the kitchen cooking up some stuff with that. But I've seen people teching him just the Jinbei into Bonney kind of recently in the West too. I think that's cool. That's something I actually need to test out more myself too.
Yeah. I think there's definitely it definitely is worth checking out.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Fernando, thank you so much. I think we can end it here. Hopefully, I learned a lot. It was so nice talking to you. Really nice, like picking your brain and getting to get some of the insights from just how you play Bonney, because you've been playing Bonney for a long time. You're one of the Bonney goats in North America for sure. So it's been nice getting to meet you and talking to you today. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was nice talking to you too. I'm glad I could, help out, contribute any way I can. So
yeah. Do you have any last minute like shout outs or anything you'd like to mention, or if you want people to follow you on Twitter or anything, you can please feel free. The floor is yours.
I'm more of a lurker on Twitter. I mean, if you want to post my Twitter,
sure,
and people want to like ask me something, feel free to ask.
Okay.
I don't mind helping out Bonney players or just nice. One Piece players in general, because overall One Piece is a great community. The like both TCG and like the enjoyers of the anime manga. So if people have any questions or any thoughts, feel free to ask me on Twitter.
Okay,
if you want. I do want to shout out some of my local gaming stores.
Yes, please.
So first one, Psycho Turtle Collectibles out here in Pico Rivera, Southern California. Great spot, great location, great community. I love that store. If you're ever in the area and you're looking for a local gaming spot, I would definitely check out Psycho Turtle.
Nice.
Also Perfect Rares, out in Cerritos. Also great community, great location. I definitely want to if you want to up your game, there it can get really competitive. So if you want to practice with some of the best that SoCal has to offer, Perfect Rares, you can definitely find people there.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that's it for now.
All right, cool.
That I could think of.
Yeah, no problem. Again, thank you for your time. Congrats on the top. We'll be looking forward to seeing you topping more in OP11. Maybe get the full championship, like win out, get top 1. But we're just happy to see you performing and like playing. And to all the other Bonney players, again, like I want to give a huge congrats to everyone who topped, anyone who's playing Bonney, giving her a shot in OP11. As a Bonney player, we appreciate it. Really love to see it. And Fernando, thank you again. And we'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye bye.